Imperial Uncle. Chapter 29. Someone who can make your majesty hesitant must be a difficult person to handle indeed. You're quite right, Imperial Uncle. We have never managed to see through him. He has been like a great weight pressing on my heart all this while, making us so ill at ease and kept us awake at night with worry. Your Majesty, politics may be paramount, but you ought to cherish your health better. You've always cared about us, Imperial Uncle. It has been like that ever since we were little. You could always guess whatever we desire. Since your Majesty is so gracious as to call me uncle, even though this servant is not your actual uncle, this servant must live up to the name. He seems touched by my words, and both his expression and the way he looks at me undergo a great change. After that, he speaks to me of many things, mostly recollections of his childhood, of coming over to play at my estate, and of things that happened in his early youth with Prince Dai and the others. I'm only able to ask to be excused once night has completely fallen. As I'm about to leave, he says to me, Imperial Uncle, we will remember all that you said to us today. I mull over these words all the way home. He may have already discovered the conspiracy. The man he tells me he can't make a decision about may just be myself. Back at my estate, I'm surprised to see the Grand Chancellor Residence's palanquin. Somehow Lu Tongyi hasn't finished persuading Han Si as of yet. I wind my way to the rear court, hoping to glean some news of the situation, and run directly into Lu Tongyi, who has just finished his attempt to talk Han Si into marrying. Beneath the lantern's light, Lu Tongyi is the picture of weariness. One can plainly see that this whole persuasion affair is a long and arduous process. I ask, did you manage to convince him, Chancellor Lu? And Lu Tongyi rubs at his temples, shaking his head in reply. Only just yesterday I got a taste of Han Si's obstinance, and my heart goes out to Lu Tongyi in sympathy. Thereupon I sincerely invite him to dine, so that he may catch his breath before leaving. Lu Tongyi tactfully declines. It looks like he needs to rush home and get some good sleep to replenish his energy, so I do not force the issue. Next day, a carrier pigeon arrives from Suzhou with a letter. There are only 4 words in the letter. Everything is in place. This letter eases all my anxieties just the way a panacea would, and I immediately send for Yun Yu. But then after sending word with a messenger, I feel it may be inappropriate. Inviting Yun Yu over every day is rather too often, and I really ought to make up some new pretext in doing so. And thus making my messenger wait, I ask him for this instead: go to the House of Dusk and pick up Chu Sun at nightfall. Tell him I miss him, and would like him to come to my estate to play the qin. The messenger seems to think for a moment, then seeming to get what I'm asking, answers yes with a grin. I proceed to send another messenger to the Yun estate with an invitation, saying that to make up for offending him yesterday, I'd like to invite him over for some flower viewing and music. A little over an hour later, the messenger I tasked with the invitation returns with Yun Yu's reply he will be sure to come in the evening. I've always enjoyed that about Yun Yu: what's past is past, he'll not quibble over it, and never would he let it get in the way of proper business. Sometime around evening, Yun Yu is the first to arrive. He acts the same as always, as though yesterday never happened, and sips his tea while looking this way and that. Where's the qin? The qin didn't manage to get here before you did, so you'll have to wait a little longer. He answers, oh, and doesn't say much more. I usher him towards the inner courtyard. The wine is set out in the garden's gallery where my bedroom is situated, with 2 peony bushes in full bloom. Having no qin for now, I pour us drinks. Alone in the garden but for us, I tell him, all is ready in Suzhou. Yun Yu laughs. No wonder your highness told me to go through Suzhou yesterday. You really do have the place in the palm of your hand. Wetting a finger in wine, he draws a few dots on the table. Jiangnan, Jiangbei, Huanghuai, the southwest and the northwest are all set. We're only missing the northeast and the capital. Then he draws a line through the dots, making a nearly complete circle. He points at its opening. We close the loop here. Yun Yu wipes the wine off the table. Father just heard yesterday that both Prince Zong and Prince Jia need to leave the capital soon. It seems where Prince Jia is heading to happens to be Suzhou. Suzhou is the heart of the empire, therefore both Wang Qin and Yun Tang treat it as with great significance. When Chen Bian was my father's subordinate, he once spent a few days leading Deng Man. Wang Zheng is the commander-in-chief of Suzhou, and Deng Man is his deputy general. Prince Jia must have taken those few days as the heavenly military mandate. Or perhaps, he's taken Deng Man for Wang Zheng. Yun Yu bursts with a laugh. What they call the military mandate is actually the mandate tally my father once used in the military. When my dad led troops to defend the frontier and defeat the barbarians, Emperor Tongguang had a set of jiao tallies forged for him. There were 8 in total, 1 major tally, and 8 minor tallies. The major tally could be used to command the entire military, and the 8 minor tallies could command the 8 deputy generals. By Emperor Yingchang's reign, most of those young soldiers and ranked officers who used to follow my father's lead had become high-ranking regional commanders themselves, with key armies under their control. That's why some overly concerned loyalists tried to convince Emperor Yingchang that if the Prince Huai Jiao tally was ever brought forth, it could be used to mobilize the empire's entire military. That's how the story of the heavenly military mandate came to be. I played with this legendary set of tallies many times when I was little. I even used it to dig at an anthill once. The way my mother used to put it, my father was still a spoiled little prince in his bones, forgetful when it comes to where he put his stuff, and didn't understand how expensive things could be. When he was free and wasn't fighting on a campaign, he'd toss that set of tallies wherever, then when they needed them again he'd rummage all over for them, making his attendants shake in their boots fearing for their lives. The one major tally that my dad had to keep with him all the time even had a bit missing off the jiao's horn precisely because I used it to pry the rocks off our rockery. I ran to my dad holding up the jiao tally with its blunted horn. He looked this way and that before hiding it inside his clothes. With one hand he patted my head, and with the other, he covered my mouth. He whispered, "Don't ever tell your mom. It feels like it only happened yesterday. My father and I were right here, where I'm sitting with Yun Yu now. Your Highness, how long are we going to sit here for? When is the Qin coming?" That's true. The sun is setting, red clouds fading. Why isn't Chu Sun here yet? The corner of Yun Yu's mouth lifts. Oh, so what Your Highness invited this official to listen to is Chu Sun's Qin playing. You probably haven't been by to see him lately, have you? If he's not here yet, it may be because he's mad at you. My face gives him a helpless little twitch, and I'm just about to say something when someone announces that Chu Sun is finally here. It's been days since I've seen Chu Sun, but he looks like he's doing well. He comes with a Qin in his arms, and bows to us. Oh, so Your Highness wanted me to play the Qin for Chief Yun. Right after he places the instrument on the Qin stand and begins tuning the strings, another servant comes to announce that Chancellor Lu is here. Holding his wine cup aloft, Yun Yu says to me smilingly, "Seems we're all here today." I cough. Chancellor Lu is here because he's under an imperial order to talk Han Si into that marriage. He did not manage to convince Han Si yesterday, and so after finishing his work today he still has to come over and continue trying. As I drink here this evening, I can't in all politeness not extend an invitation to Chancellor Lu. It's just the same reason why he should in all politeness come to notify me that he's come to speak with Han Si. I send Steward So to tell Chancellor Lu that I'm in the rear garden for a flower viewing and to listen to the Qin, and would like him to honor me with his presence. Steward So goes as I bid, and not long after, as Yun Yu is in the middle of pouring us wine, the sound of footsteps approaches and I lift my gaze to find a robe of sage green. To my surprise, it is Lu Tongyi who's standing at Steward So's side. Chu Sun throws himself to the ground and kowtows, while Yun Yu rises to bow. Under orders from His Majesty, this servant cannot help but disturb Your Highness at your estate once more. This servant see that Your Highness is drinking with Chief Yun at a flower viewing, Let's hope this servant have not spoiled your mood. I smile. What are you saying? It's my good fortune indeed to have the chance to invite you to drink together. A new chair had been brought in earlier, so I gesture at it to Lu Tongyi, and he sits down. After a single cup of wine he rises again to take his leave. Under orders from His Majesty, this servant really shouldn't tarry, so please excuse this servant. Yun Yu says, Chancellor Lu, it's true that while you have an imperial decree to keep we shouldn't keep you over long, but since we're here for the qin and flowers, you should at least listen to one song before you go. I add my own entreaty to keep him, and Chu Sun speaks up as well, this lowly one have never offered my skills before a chancellor as of yet. This lowly one have long heard that Chancellor Lu is well versed in the art of music, so this lowly one wonder if it's possible to glean some advice from you today. Lu Tongyi smiles, begrudging. Since that's the case, this servant will just take another short break. Yun Yu fills the wine cups again, Chu Sun plays another song, melody flowing like water. At the song's end, Lu Tongyi smiles a little. Your skill at the qin is indeed excellent. Chu Sun replies respectfully, Grand Chancellor, this lowly one do not deserve such praise. Yun Yu suddenly interjects, I have always heard that Chancellor Lu excels in music, and yet after spending years together in court, I've never seen it firsthand. Today is a rare and sophisticated meeting, and if Chancellor Lu is willing to play a duet with young Sir Chu Sun, it would make for a most rarefied elegant occasion indeed. I'm just a smidgen stunned, Chu Sun laughs. Chief Yun, you're so funny. Why would the Lord Chancellor play a duet with this lowly one? Yun Yu lifts a brow. Oh, I was just joking around on a whim. Chancellor Lu, you don't have to take me seriously. Now that's sounding half like a joke and half like a dare. I'm about to say something to help Lu Tongyi escape, but he's already smiling coolly. Showing off my inadequate skills will only serve to embarrass me in front of Sir Chu. The qin, I definitely dare not play. He turns his gaze on me. This servant wonder if there are any flutes in your estate, Your Highness. Surprised, I stare back at him for a beat before hastily sending someone to find one. Good thing that even though I know nothing about musical instruments, we do keep some in the estate to keep up appearances. Steward So takes a few servants and goes looking for it personally. It's a while before he returns with a jasper daisy and offers it to Lu Tongyi. Lu Tongyi takes it, tells us excuse my poor skill and begins. Chu Sun plucks at the qin strings once again, music flowing forth like a clear spring. Lu Tongyi sets the daisy by his lips, and its notes are like a lingering night breeze, curling between the clouds, setting off ripples on the spring. The sunset has faded, and the sky has turned ink blue, silver stars blink into existence. Outside the covered gallery, the evening mist deepens, flowers bloom, rich and radiant. Only the night breeze remains soft and languid, the wine in our cups clear as spring. Cups in hand, Yun Yu and I lean back into our chairs. Surrounded by the sounds of daisy and qin, I'm not yet intoxicated, though it feels as though I am. All of it feels like a dream, a flower-scented dream in deep sleep at twilight, making one reluctant to wake. But however unwilling, the waking will always come eventually. The sound of the daisy drifts to a close, and the qin stops as well. Yun Yu claps his hands. After hearing one song from Chancellor Lu, one cannot listen to anyone else play the daisy for 3 years. Modestly, Lu Tongyi says, You praise me overmuch, Chief Yun. And after drinking one more cup, he rises again. This servant really can't tarry any longer, Your Highness. This servant must go now. I look on as that robe of light green leaves my garden. Like in the past, I fear I must toss and turn all night through again, and sleep quite badly. But I haven't slept well the past 2 nights, either, though the one who has been keeping me awake at nights has been exchanged for another. End chapter. Imperial Uncle. Chapter 30. After nightfall, as our mood to drink wanes, Yunyu tells me he's tired and he wants to head home to get some sleep. Chusun also excuses himself for the night with the Qin in his arms. I see Yunyu off, and have a few sips of tea before taking a bath. On exiting the bath I'm suddenly reminded that Lu Tongyi hasn't come to say goodbye yet, and so I stop a servant in the hallway to ask, when did Chancellor Lu leave? The young servant says in reply, Your Highness, Chancellor Lu is still speaking with Han Si in the lesser sitting room. He's not done convincing him yet. I stroll to the lesser sitting room, and just as I make it to the door I happen upon Han Si kneeling on the floor to kowtow. Thank you, Lord Chancellor. Thank you, Lord Chancellor. No need. I will explain everything to His Majesty tomorrow. I shall deliver everything I promised you. Looks like Lu Tongyi has finally succeeded. I go to stand beneath the gallery nearby. Lu Tongyi comes out a short while later. The past 2 days must have been tiring for you, Chancellor Lu. Even such trifles had to involve you. Under the lantern's light, Lu Tongyi's features conceal exhaustion. It's all within a chancellor's duty to begin with. As for what finally convinced Han Si, it'd be inappropriate to tell me what he hasn't reported to His Majesty, so I do not ask. Lu Tongyi starts saying goodbye, and I try to keep him. Chancellor Lu, you've spent half the day talking, let's have some tea before you go. Lu Tongyi and I stride into the reception hall together. Once the tea is served, I ask him, all this prince's estate ever serves in the evening is weak tea, a mere couple of tea leaves, just enough to give it some flavor, as stronger tea may interfere with sleep. Is it all right with you, Chancellor Lu? This official usually sleep late, and it's true the servant often drinks strong tea. Although, one ought to drink weaker tea in the evenings. You're busy with work at court all the time, Chancellor Lu, so you should mind your health, go to bed earlier. It may not feel like much burning the candle at both ends now, but if you keep carrying on this way it'll damage your health in the long run. Lu Tongyi thanks me with a smile, and I smile back. This prince wasn't paying attention and talked too much again. This prince have a terrible tendency to prattle on. Please don't take offense, Chancellor Lu. Intentionally, I change the subject. These habits of mine, such as early to bed and drinking only weak tea in the evenings, were actually forcefully bred into me as a child. Back then, my father loved strong tea and strong wine, and so mother made sure he wasn't allowed any throughout the entire estate, only weak tea was ever served at night. I was ordered to go to bed as soon as it got dark. I even followed the ancients' example and caught fireflies, storing them in sacks of chiffon, so I could hide in my bed and read those fantasy stories. But it was no good, they weren't bright enough. True, and we don't use quilts in the summer, so it's not easy to hide. This servant had read by moonlight before, it's hard on the eyes, and impossible to read in the winter, what with the cold. One could peel the covers off serious books and paste them over the stories, but unfortunately the spine doesn't stick very well. I laugh. That's because you're too well behaved. I always ordered the books directly from bookshops, and had them install covers such as the 6 Secret Teachings, the 3 Strategies of Huang Shigong and the like. Even so, I was still caught, the books looked too new. They look suspicious. Lu Tongyi laughs too, airy. This servant's luck was a bit better. I wasn't as skillful as your highness, and yet I have never been caught, not even once. That's because you were good at recitation, and no one would think to suspect you. When I was little, my father was even more demanding of me when it came to reading strategy books than in the way he trained new recruits. At one point, my father hoped that I could be just like him, forge new territories for the empire, defend its foundations, become a warrior on horseback at the frontier. Once upon a time, I was forced to read books on the art of war, forced to practice the horse stance. I even spent a couple of days learning to fight with a spear. The past is a sad thing to look upon indeed. I continue, but after that, he let me be. I got to do whatever I wanted. I was beaten, yelled at, forced to read strategy books and learn the martial arts, but when the time came that no one was there to force me or to look after me anymore, at first it left my heart feeling terribly empty. I heave a sigh. The past is as transient as a passing cloud. Lu Tongyi says, when this servant was little, this servant couldn't wait for the day he could read without restraint, but now that this servant can read right out in the open, a boy's intense interest in reading is something so hard to come by. Life may not always go the way we want it to, but on reminiscing those days of youth, there's still more joy in it than bitterness. I praise him, Chancellor Lu, your words are always so sensible. Lu Tongyi laughs. Maybe the servant haven't yet recovered from engaging in bouts of persuasion. Please excuse the servant, Your Highness. He takes another couple of sips of tea before setting down his cup to rise from his seat. And this servant have disturbed you yet again. Now this servant really must go. It's already past 9 in the evening, it has gotten too late, and so I skip the usual formality of asking him to stay, and I get up to see Lu Tongyi out of the front hall. Nothing much happens in the following days. He hasn't been summoning me to the palace lately, either. The next time I went to the palace is the day of the Duanwu festival, where I arrived bearing gifts to celebrate the occasion. None of my princely cousins were there, but quite a few of my imperial nephews were present. I received a festival banquet from His Majesty, ate a couple of rice dumplings and drank a few cups of realgar wine with everyone. And I was not kept by any imperial verbal order to stay alone afterwards, either. Once the banquet ended, I returned home. 5th month, 6th day, I receive some more news. I deliberate over this a long time, ultimately choosing to write an invitation to Yun Yu. After he arrives, we find a quiet place where we can talk, and he asks if things are set in the northeast. I tell him, everything should be set in the northeast by rights, but I haven't received any confirmation yet. I tell Yun Yu that the reason for my wanting to see him today is about something else. The sky is clear, the air is still. A kind of dry yet stuffy heat pervades the pavilion. I hesitate a moment, and ask Yun Yu, Suiya, in regards to the valley in the southwest, will you not give it any more thought? Yun Yu is in the middle of fanning himself with a folding fan, and on hearing this he turns to me, and something in his expression is off. The moment he starts saying Your Highness, I interrupt him, and in a heated moment I blurt out, Suiya, I have to tell you the truth. I'm in love with you. Yun Yu stares at me, his hand still holding his fan. His fan is still, his gaze is still, and his entire person seems perfectly still. I had no plans to ever say these words, but I was suddenly overcome with this feeling that if I didn't say it then, I'll never get the chance to say it. There's a lot I want to say, yet I seem to have nothing to say, either. For a while I stammer, then, choosing my words carefully, I speak again. Suiya, I only wanted you to leave because I didn't want you to put yourself in danger. It would be more likely for me to kill myself than to have other motives than that. Suiya. Finally, Yun Yu is mobile again. He closes his folding fan, the corner of his mouth rises but he laughs. Your Highness, your confessions of love have been given to so many by turns, and this official suppose it's finally his turn. And just like that, I can't make a single sound anymore. I have indeed said it to Rancy recently, I have said it to 2 people in total, one being Rancy, and the other Yun Yu. I have always kept Rancy in my heart, but the Rancy of my heart wasn't the real Lu Tongyi. That was a mirage drifting amidst the clouds that I drew in my mind. Only once woken from this dream did I realize the good of definite reality. Looking back through the past few years, the one who drank with me and whiled the time away with me, the one who chatted and joked around with me, was only Yun Yu. No one has ever been so intimate with me, and now, there is only Yun Yu. In the future there may be none other. Unfortunately, even this bit of reality isn't real. If I didn't pretend to join the rebellion, Yun Yu would never have gotten close to me. One can say that this whole friendship I have with Yunyu is something I conned from him. Once the 15th of the 5th month is past, it'll all be gone. For now, I will not think about what's to happen afterwards. But if Yunyu is to be killed, they may as well take my life first. Yunyu's smile hasn't faded, and his tone is light. Your Highness, we're facing a great task ahead, so it's best to put off discussions of other things for later. This servant have been saying this all along since the heavens gave the servant leave to choose this path, and more so, since it is a path the servant chose on my own, he must walk it to the very end. This has nothing to do with anyone else. This servant will always follow your Highness. This servant hope you will take the throne soon, and rule over the realm. And when that time comes, this servant hope your Majesty won't forget my and my father's loyalty today. The words your Majesty jab into my ears like needles. Yunyu laughs once more. Of course, by then there'll be all kinds of wonderful people in your harem, so this servant won't go along and add to it. Now that's even harder on my ears. I imagine that even if I say to Yunyu, aside from you, there can't possibly be anyone else, he won't believe me. It goes without saying, if I had him, why would I have anyone else? I feel as though I'm steeping in a deep fryer in the 18 levels of hell. Too bad no one understands. I grab Yunyu's sleeve. Suiya, though what I've said today may seem preposterous, it came from my heart. Jingwei, may not be a good person, but to me, no one can compare to you, Suiya. Yunyu takes another look at me, and soon breaks into laughter again. Your Highness, that makes the servant so very sad that he can do naught but sigh. Are you planning to say something to Chancellor Lu again and practicing what you're going to say on this servant? I sheepishly let go of his sleeve. I had been holding it so tight and it's so hot that my palm is sticky. I'm covered in a sheen of sweat. I lightly cough, and laugh at myself. Perhaps it's too hot today. My head got so heated I feel a little faint. Yunyu stares at me, all earnestness. Well then you should probably lie down and rest, Your Highness. Great work is at hand, you must take care of your health. He gives me a slight bow. If there's nothing else, please excuse the servant. But when he turns to go, his leaving brings up the smidgen of a breeze. Before I can tell whether it's hot or cold, it's already gone. I pace back and forth in the pavilion, wanting to let out a bitter laugh. It's a good thing that Yunyu is acting like this. With what happened at the Moonlight Pavilion, I came to realize it. With the way he's acting now, it seems he's thought things through. This is how things should be. Though it's probably not in my fate to love anyone, I could neither love Ranzi in the past, nor Yunyu in the present. The one who used to be closest to me will become distant too, like everyone else. Yunyu isn't willing to leave, but I have my ways to deal with that. Present circumstances give me no leeway to whine and moan. Beneath stagnant water are rapid undercurrents. Great waves are about to rise. The rest of Yunyu's visits are dedicated to discussions of arrangements in each region. On the 8th day of the 5th month, each region's provincial military battalions are ready for action. The Wang and Yun clans have been planning for years. How deep their roots have entrenched and how far their branches have reached far exceeds my imagination. There are people they can use in every cardinal direction and nearly every last county and province. Our government has a strict separation of civil and military affairs, and neither must interfere with the other. I had thought most of the people the Wangs and Yuns can reach were civil officials. It is only gradually that I realize that they have many troops they can deploy. After this one round of removal, I wonder how many sinecures will open up from the imperial court to small county seats. There's no telling whether the Ministry of Justice's prison can fit them all. On the 12th day of the 5th month, I show Wang Xian a tally. Young Tang and Wang Qin are probably going to lose sleep over this, they'll be so happy. This tally commands His Majesty's 20,000 cavalry, garrisoned in the vicinity of the capital. The capital is defended year-round by 10,000 imperial guards and 20,000 cavalry. Only the Emperor's seal of the realm can command the Imperial Guards. The other 20,000 cavalry are normally controlled by the Grand Preceptor and the Minister of War, in conjunction with a few other high-level military officials. The Vice Minister of War and Commander-in-Chief Li Jian each hold one half of an emergency tally, and together, in a contingency it can be used to mobilize the entire military. Evening, 14th of the 5th month, the night sky is vast, the stars are bright, and the moon is only a touch short of being full. The Prince Huai estate is exceedingly quiet after dark. Presumably, it is exceedingly quiet in the entire capital. I wonder how many eyes are staring up at the moon right now, just like mine, only waiting for midnight. End chapter. Imperial Uncle. Chapter 31. At midnight, I spy a single firework blooming over the capital's southeastern sky. That is our signal to strike. According to the agreement between Yun Tang, Wang Qin, and I, at midnight with a firework as signal, Minister of War Cheng Bai and Yun Tang's nephew Yun Huan will surround the capital with a force 10,000 strong. Li Jian and Wang Xian will lead another 10,000 men into the city and rendezvous with Wang Qin's 3,000 Imperial Guards. It is precisely over these 3,000 Imperial Guards that I risk throwing my life into the lot by borrowing the command of 20,000 mounted troops. I have no idea what sort of business that hag the Empress Dowager has been peddling in recent years. Before Kichi started holding court on his own, she showed courtesy to myself and the other old fogey Imperial uncles on the surface, and worked to supplant us behind the scenes. She thought those of us who shared the family name Jing could not be counted upon, and that the only ones she could count on were people from her family, who shared her maiden name. Then the old goose Prince Gio with his iron backbone decided to show off his fealty at this crucial moment. He only had 3,000 Imperial Guards, and the moment he started squabbling with the sparrow that is myself, he gave his control of these 3,000 guards to the Empress, and retired to write poetry at home. There was no victor after he played that move. He crowed blood in indignation, and I spat blood over my internal injuries. And just as I thought, those 3,000 palace guards remained usurped by the Empress's family and did not end up with Kichi even after he became independent. The Dowager Empress's family is just like the Dowager Empress herself. They have no moral character for loyalty, nor do they possess the talent for treachery, so somehow even Wang Qin can command these Imperial Guards now. With a massive force of 30,000 guarding the capital, there's no way to force an abdication with a mere 3,000 Imperial Guards. That's why Yun Tang and Wang Qin restrained themselves for so long. The Minister of War Cheng Bai will retire at the end of the year. Li Jian will also be transferred elsewhere. All those who campaigned with my father and lived through 3 generations of emperors are getting on in years. To the imperial court, and to the commoners, not being in a state of war for so many years is a blessing. The only downside is that it is not conducive to producing the kind of general millions of soldiers could submit themselves to. Once Cheng Bai retires and Li Jian leaves, it's hard to say whose hands their cavalry will fall into. Rumors of infighting among the lower-ranking generals have reached even myself. Good thing Li Jian's here to keep them in line. In the worst-case scenario, his successor won't be able to keep them in line and the command of the cavalry will become divided, exploitable. This is the exact chance that Yun Tang and Wang Qin were holding their breath for. Grand Tutor Yun has disciples scattered all through the government. Civil officials and military officials rarely collide, and cooperation yields more benefit. Every official knows this. Let's suppose Yun Tang's disciples collude with those lower-ranking generals, then it may not just be 3,000 Imperial Guards that he would control in the future, it may be a force numbering 10,000 and above. But this is not a move without great risk to Yun Tang and Wang Qin. That's why I used Cheng Bai and Li Jian not wanting to hand over their military power as pretext, and 20,000 cavalry in our grasp as bait. Naturally, Yun Tang and Wang Qin are beside themselves. According to the plan, 10,000 cavalry and 3,000 palace guards will attack at the same time, in a coordinated move inside and outside the city. At 1 hour after midnight, I will arrive before the palace, lead them inside to capture Kijhi, and seize the throne. It is just past midnight. I dress and get ready to go. Yuntang and Wang Qin have no idea that everyone rising up to meet this rebellion's cause has probably been arrested, or executed. The reason why those princes were absent at the Duanwu festival banquet was because they were already gone from the capital. The only prince that should be left in the city is Prince Zong. Each and every one on that list of names I gave Yuntang and Wang Qin, supposedly composed of those who will cooperate in this rebellion, is loyal to the throne. His Majesty and the Dowager Empress ought not to have always guarded themselves against me. Yuntang and Wang Qin ought not to have valued me so highly. Whatever heavenly military mandate and secret powers the rumors claim I have are all false. I really am empty-handed, not a smidgen of power to my name. Everything in this plan came from asking it of others, came out of borrowing the east wind. What these people have vowed their loyalty unto death for isn't my dad. Neither is it for a military tally. They're loyal to the Jing family empire and peace for all under heaven. Right now I appear to be setting off to rendezvous with Yuntang and Wang Qin. One still must put on a show of making rebellion. I change into a set of lightweight garments, hang a long sword at my side, and I'm just about to get on my horse in the rear court, ready to leave the estate with a group of men, when there's commotion by the walls, and a few people drop to the ground. My attendants draw their weapons. A weak voice calls out from the shadows at the foot of the wall. Your Highness. It's Yun Yu's voice. I rush towards him. Beneath the moon, Yun Yu's complexion is deathly pale. My heart tightens nervously. I ask, urgent, Suiya. Putting pressure over his left arm, he says quietly, Your Highness, I fear there has been an unexpected turn. An unexpected turn? I recall quite clearly that my arrangement with Prince Zong is to wait until I rush into the palace and Yuntang's entire group has come out before we execute the plan. Why has it turned already? Is it because Li Qian can't wait? Yun Yu's smile is bitter. It may be, a breach of intelligence among the palace guard, all over the palace and the city, they were lying in wait for us, the cavalry too, probably. It looks like outside of Prince Zong, Kijhi had made other arrangements. Yun Yu says slowly, it's all over. There is no way this can work. We're surrounded by Jing Kijhi's people. Grand Tutor Yun and Wang Qin, I begin to ask. Yun Yu says nothing. The indistinct din of fighting on the other side of the wall gradually grows more severe. Yun Yu laughs, gently. I never thought that Your Highness and I, really will die together. I take hold of his sleeve. Maybe not. Dragging Yun Yu with me, I quickly make my way towards the floating bridge that leads to the water pavilion. I leave everyone else at the estate behind in the rear court in a feint of last resistance. In the silence, there is only Yun Yu and I. Once inside the water pavilion, I grope beneath the bookshelf in the dark for 2 lanterns, and light one with a lighter before handing it to Yun Yu. I push the desk. After some creaking, a tunnel appears on the floor. Yun Yu stands beside the entrance with his lantern. It appears Your Highness was prepared. How can one do a thing that amounts to hanging one's head on the tip of a blade without having a backup plan? I reply. Taking the other lantern, I walk slowly down the mud steps into the tunnel. Yun Yu follows closely behind me. I pull a lever on the stone wall, and the entrance closes behind us. A long stairway extends below. I'm not good with stairs, and step by step we walk for a long while before Yun Yu asks, do these stairs go down to the lake bed? They do. What faces us past the last step is a long, winding tunnel, quiet and dark, seemingly without end. I pick up a cloth-wrapped bundle at a corner. Waterskin, dry rations, silvers, it's all here. Let's take our time. It's quite a long way. Yun Yu doesn't say much the whole way. We need to save the other lantern as a backup, and one lantern isn't bright at all, it can just barely manage to light a few steps of the path ahead of us. The swaying lantern seemed to make our shadows dance, and our breathing seems particularly clear. Yun Yu's arm has been injured and it was hastily bandaged. Blood is still seeping through the cloth. I have no idea what I'm supposed to say to him. If I open my mouth, all I say will just be yet more lies. I really want to ask him why he came to my estate. Yun Tang and Wang Qin probably had escape plans too. Since Yun Yu could have run away, why did he come to me? I had originally intended to hand off the righteous task of eliminating the rebel party to Prince Zong after my rendezvous with Yun Tang's group. And then I would take Yun Yu through this passage while pretending to escape. We walk for who knows how long, and Yun Yu's footsteps begin to falter. I ask if he's tired. He nods, then slides down the wall to sit on the floor. In the lantern's flickering light, he looks down, and closes his eyes. Worried that he may have injuries aside from the one on his arm, I take his hand and check his pulse. Yun Yu's eyes snap open. Your Highness knows how to read a pulse. I can at least tell whether it's strong and fast or weak and slow. He chuckles, and retrieves his hand. I search for something else to say to him. I've only ever taken this path once before. It really does feel like it never ends. Yun Yu says, coolly, even if it never ends, it doesn't matter. I stare at him. He turns to me. Is your Highness worried that Jingqi's people have found out about this place, that they'll come after us? He closes his eyes again, as though weary. And if they do come after us, that doesn't matter either. We rest for a moment before continuing on our way, and I gradually tell Yun Yu the story of this secret passage. My dad's mother's family, or to put it another way, the ancestors of my great-grandfather on my father's side, started out in the construction business. They saved up enough money that during a natural disaster year they were able to donate it in exchange for a government job. However, they never imagined that one of their descendants would turn out to be a good scholar, ranking high in the civic examinations. Over generations the family moved up the ranks, and by my great-grandfather's time, he reached a position most suitable for one with his ancestral occupation, Minister of Revenue. That great-grandfather of mine was a cowardly, cautious man. He had a feeling that as he'd climbed so high up in the bureaucracy, and his daughter had entered the emperor's palace as an imperial concubine, his family's good fortune had reached its zenith. As they say, when one is at the top there's nowhere to go but down, so in order to guard against the eventuality of his family line dying out, he had to make a backup plan. But the way he left a backup plan was rather different than most people. He drew a diagram personally, and commenced work on this secret passage. First, he dug a huge artificial lake in his own back garden, built an island in the middle, then he made the secret passage lead out of the estate from the lake bed. This passage was exceedingly long, and had to be built clandestinely, so he anonymously bought a few residences in the capital along its line and hired teams of workers to dig out sections of it separately, with years between the digging. Those workers all thought they were just digging ordinary tunnels, and none had any idea where these tunnels were going. Only at the end were they connected and those openings to the residential homes filled in. The only openings left were the exit and the entrance in the island on the lake. This passage was too difficult to dig. It was only finished as my great-grandfather passed away. When my dad's uncle retired and returned to his ancestral home, he left this residence to my dad, and after an overhaul and some extensions it became the Prince Hawaii estate. It's quite a long story. I time it in bits and pieces, sometimes even stopping to rest, have some water, and have a refreshment or two. By the time I finish the telling, I guess that we're not far from the exit. Sure enough, a few more turns later, the stone walls become black brick walls and the passage narrows so much it allows only for single file. Another 3 turns and it suddenly widens again. Yun Yu raises the lantern and casts its light on the walls. We're standing in a square room built of stone, and there is faded writing on one of the walls. It can't be a treasure map or some sort of secret left behind by your Highness's ancestors, can it? He goes to the wall and holds the lantern aloft. The characters, overlaid with dust, can still vaguely be read. 2 lines are carved onto the wall. The first is in delicate and graceful calligraphy, beyond an arduous journey there is an open sky. It was probably written by my great-grandfather or my great-uncle. The next line is cast in strong strokes, written with extraordinary vigor. Those who use this room must reflect, be contrite of their wrongs, and strive. It's clearly my dad, the former Prince Huai's handwriting. I reach out, pushing the stone table in the middle of the room. The wall that arduous journey is written on slowly turns like a door, revealing a gap. Yun Yu and I walk together beyond the stone door into another corridor. I push the door closed. I say to Yun Yu, even if we want to, there's no going back now. Aside from the one that opens into the water pavilion, all the doors in the underground tunnel are one way. At the end of the corridor, a set of stairs meander upwards. There's another room at the top of the stairs. I activate the mechanism and push open the door hidden on the wall and step beyond it. Behind us, the door closes with a rumbling of stone. There's a fluttering of wings above us, like the sound of bats or some sort of giant moth. Shadowy moonlight illuminates the path ahead. End chapter.